Hey guys, Susan Thomas here, and today we're going to talk headpins for beginners and beyond. So today we're going to be talking headpins, and I'm going to explain to you what headpins are first. Then we're going to talk how you can use headpins from the most basic use of a headpin all the way into some more complicated, interesting, intricate uses of headpins. Basically, headpins make jewelry. So you guys are going to love this. I've got lots and lots of things in front of me, so I hope you have a little bit of time to spend with me this afternoon. Now, I have got 7 different little projects here to work with and a few tools that I want to go through with you before we get started. First of all, you're going to need some headpins, and I'll go through some different types of headpins in just a second, but you're also going to need some basic tools. I have a couple one-step loopers, very basic tool that just loops the wire for you. I also have a basic flush cutter with me today. Definitely need that. And then I have a looping plier because headpins are made out of wire, so we're going to be using our looping plier. And then I have a basic chain nose plier to open and close loops and squish things together. So a lot of people get really confused about headpins. They don't know what they are, they don't know how to use them, they know they need them, but they're just not sure where to start or where to find one. So I always explain it like this. A headpin is just like a stick pin. Remember the stick pins? Your mom used to stick them in a tomato. She had a little sewing basket, put it on the side. Sometimes they were strawberries. Mine is a strawberry and a tomato, and I've got pins falling everywhere. But head pins are just like those stick pins, except they don't have that pointy end, and they have a prettier decorative finish on one side. So essentially, it's like a piece of wire with a decorative finish on the bottom that keeps your bead from falling off. Kind of cool, right? I kind of think of it like a piece of wire that's already half finished for you. So it makes it easier to make jewelry. And the most basic use of a head pin is to make an earring because you make dangles out of them. Now I'll just show you, head pins are not all created equal. They're all different and all of them are fun. First of all, the very first head pin I'm going to show you, I'll pull this out of here, is a very, very basic head pin. This one just has a tiny flat end on it. You almost can't even see it, but it still keeps the bead from falling off the end. So that is your basic head pin. If you can't find any other head pin, these will do. They'll do the job. They're not as pretty as the other ones, but sometimes you don't want the head pin to show. So these are great. Next, I'll show you my favorite type of head pin. This one is a little ball end head pin. So it's essentially just like your basic head pin, but it's got a little ball on the end. So a little bit more decorative, and I just think they're really elegant. Just drop that bead down on top of there. Perfect. Put that to the side. Then they start getting a little crazier. So these are called buff top head pins. And they just have a little, almost like a domed cabochon type style end on them. And then watch this. This one right here is just a little bit more decorative. It almost looks like a crown. So they can go a little crazy like that. This one has almost a disc on the bottom. And then this one, you guys are gonna love this one. Look, it's got a little heart on the bottom. So they can get really cute and really fun. And they're just a great way to make jewelry. So I'm gonna start with the basic. Like I said, you start with earrings. Earrings are the first. Then I'm gonna bring you through some different projects that you can do with head pins. You're gonna love it and you're gonna be addicted once I'm done. So I'm gonna start basic, and what I'm gonna do is pull a piece of jewelry in and then show you how the head pin makes it. So I'll start with a very, very basic use of a head pin. This is a very simple pair of earrings. I'll show you the bottom so you can see the head pin. There it is. You can see it's one of those very basic head pins. Nothing special about it. There's not anything fancy on the end. It's just that little bitty knob that held all these little beads on there. So what I did was I just chose beads that I liked, strung them on the head pin, and then made a loop at the top. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing with totally different beads. I've got a head pin and I'm using a buff top. Really doesn't matter which one you use, it's whatever you like. So I've picked a buff top because they're very simple and they don't take over the design, so I think it's a good choice for a beginner. So I've just got my little head pin there and I'm just stringing my beads. I've chosen some crystals, and these are actually Swarovski crystals that I just have collected over the years and that I like the colors. So I've put a crystal on, then I put a spacer bead, then another crystal, another spacer bead, and another crystal. Super easy. And now I have space at the end. You can see my wire here. That's to make a loop. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a loop at the end of this head pin to hang onto your earring. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do this. But the first one is very, very simple. You just take this wire, bend it to the side, like so. Then you clip off your wire. So it's about, right at about 3/8 of an inch should be left. A little 90-degree angle. You're going to grab a round nose plier and then roll the wire into a loop like that. Now, some people find that very complicated, so there's this tool called a one-step looper. And if you don't feel comfortable making loops like that, the next thing that you can do is you can pick up one of these tools and you can use it to make the loop for you. Kind of cool that we actually have a tool that does that. One-step looper is a very apt name for this tool because it literally makes the loop in one step. So you just take your wire, same wire. I've got another head pin here already set up with all my beads on it. So there's the head pin, there are my beads and spacers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wire and push it through that little hole on the end of the one-step looper. And I'm going to squeeze, and it's going to trim it and loop it all in one step. Look at that. That's amazing, right? So that's the easier way to do it. If you don't have that, do it the way I showed you at first. One-step looper is cool because it always makes all your loops the same size. I want to show you the next way to use a head pin. This is a little bit more complicated way to make a dangle, but it's a finished loop. So it's important that you know how to do this. I've probably showed you this before, but I'm just going to show you. When I first started, I never made open loops like that. Most head pins are heavy enough or thick enough for you to make open loops like that, but some of them aren't. Some of them need to be closed connectors. So to do that, what you're going to do is put your bead on your head pin. It's just another little crystal right here. And you're going to grab the head pin with your round nose plier, and you're going to bend the wire into a 90-degree angle like so, like this. Now see, there's a little bit of space right there. So then I'm going to take my little plier and go about 1/8 of an inch past the bend I made and roll the wire all the way over until it's in another 90-degree angle and I have a half circle on one side. Pop my plier back in there, bring the wire all the way around the round nose plier, and I'll show you I've got a loop right there at the top, perfectly above my bead. Amazing. And the trick is always starting with that 90-degree angle. Now I'm going to re-grasp that with that chain nose plier I showed you guys earlier to keep my loop in place, and then take the extra wire and wrap it 2 times around underneath that loop. So now I'll show you guys. You have a loop, and you have a little bit of wire coiled around underneath the loop in between the bead. Looks decorative, but also finishes it off and closes it off. Then flip that over, grab your flush cutter, get right in there, and trim off the extra wire, like so. And then I'll always, if there's a little piece sticking up, you can just kind of push that in with your chain nose plier. So that is a closed loop right there. Very important to know how to do that, especially with a head pin that's a little thinner. Most of the head pins I'm using today are 20 gauge head pins, which are plenty thick enough for you guys to make those open connectors. But if you're working with a 24 or a 26 gauge head pin, which is like less than 1/2 millimeter, you're definitely going to want to know how to make closed loops like that. Okay, so you made your basic earring. You're like, oh, that's super cool, but now you kind of want to take it to the next level. So the next thing I want to show you how to do, we'll put these away, and I'll bring these out. I've had this hidden behind here. This is essentially the exact same thing, but all I've done is add some chain to the top to give it some more drama. So if you're going out at night, putting on your little black dress, and you want to look a little fancier, you might try this technique. All you have to do is choose some chain. So I've got some chain. I love this chain because it's graduated. It looks so good if you use a graduated chain. But you don't have to get a graduated chain. Any chain you have in your stash will work. So I've just attached them to an ear wire, and you can see that would actually be kind of a cool earring just like itself. But here with my little crystal at the bottom, woo, looking like I'm going to town. So what I'm gonna do is take a different head pin, just so you guys can see it doesn't matter what head pin you use. This one is a nice white gold color or a sterling silver color, and it's got a really pretty bottom on it. See, that almost looks like a little Celtic knot. So then I'm just gonna take, this is a little check glass crystal right here. Just pop that on the head pin just like before. And then I'm gonna use a different one-step looper. This one is a bigger looper, makes a bigger loop because my chain's a little chunky. But it's the exact same thing. All you do is take your head pin, push it through the looper, like so, right up to the bead, and squeeze. Makes my little loop at the bottom, and then you take your chain nose plier, which is a very, very essential tool to working with head pins, and you twist this open just a little bit. Pop it onto the bottom of the chain, like so. Close it. Drama. Got it. Pretty cool, right? So it's essentially you go from just a simple head pin earring to a little more drama just by adding a little chain. So that kind of takes it to the next level. And like I said, just knowing that first skill, you can actually do this too. All you did was cut a few links of chain, maybe off an old necklace that you have, you know, that you don't even want to wear anymore, and attached it just like that. Pretty cool. So now let's think. Oh, ear wires. I promised you that. It's kind of cool because you can actually use head pins to do a lot of different things. So I'm going to show you how to take a head pin and make it into an ear wire for this earring, because now it's just sitting over here and I can't put it in my ears. And maybe I don't have ear wires, or maybe you don't even know how to make ear wires or where to find them. So all you have to do is take 2 head pins that you like, preferably a 20 gauge, so these are a little heavier, and then take a looping plier. You can just take this and bring it up using the smallest loop and make a little loop or a little crook in your head pin. Turn it around, use the largest loop, and bend it into an ear wire, like so. Now, if you don't have this tool, I'll show you. I always say use what you have, right? So you can take this and bend this back into that loop just using your round nose plier. Same thing. And then if I had a ballpoint pen, I would show you how you can just wrap it around a ballpoint pen. Do I have one? No. So I'm just gonna use my looping plier again, but pretend like it's a ballpoint pen, because you can use a ballpoint pen to do this part. And I always tell you guys this kind of stuff because I know a lot of you don't have these tools at home, or you've never seen this tool, or you don't know where to find it. Maybe we have it in stock, maybe we don't. And if we don't, then you're just gonna wander around thinking you can't do it. But you can. It is really easy. So I'm just gonna bend this over my looping plier again and make that second ear wire. I love this style of ear wire with a head pin because they're easy for beginners to use. All you have to do is just open it up just a little tiny bit right here. Take your cute little earring that you just made, pop it in, that little crook right there that you did, and then squish it closed. Isn't that pretty? And then I'll put that one there and I'll do the other one. You can see they both work the same way, the one that I did with the round nose plier and the one that I did with the looping plier. Also, they work the same, the one that I did with the round nose plier and the one that I did with the one-step looper. So I'll squeeze that closed, and now I have a pretty pair of earrings to wear. Cool. So taking this to the next level, and I mean seriously different levels, you can do the same things with your head pins, and I'll bring in a different pair of earrings. I call these sparkler earrings, and just because they're kind of sparkly, but because all the head pins are different lengths on this pair of earrings, all these are head pins. So I'll just show you the bottom of these. So just so you guys can see what I've done here, these are just those little ball end head pins. Obviously it doesn't matter what kind of head pin you use, but what you do want to make sure it's at least a heavy enough gauge that it'll keep its shape. But you just put your head pins on, and then you leave them different lengths so that they hang at different lengths on your earring and make just a really pretty fun design. I've shown you guys how to do this. They're called crystal sparkler earrings. You can find the video. So I'm just gonna take a head pin. This is one I've already used. I already did this technique on this head pin right here. You can see I have a loop at the very, very end. I'm just gonna clip that off so I can do it again. So what you do is just take your looper, and I usually use the smallest looper on this, or you can use the round nose plier, and you put this into your looper and leave yourself some space. And you just take this and you squeeze it, and then ta-da, you got your loop at the end. And then this, and what you want to do is obviously make two the same length. So I've got two short ones, two medium, two schmediums we'll call them, and two long ones, and you just kind of change up the lengths. When I do this, I usually do one all the way up against the bead, one all the way at the end of the head pin, and then I only have 2 or 3 for the medium ones to try to even up. And I just use a permanent marker, mark my head pin, so I make sure I get them the same length. So that kind of takes it to the next level, and it looks like you really know what you're doing. So at this point, you really only know one skill. You know how to make a loop at the top of a head pin, but you've got 1, 2, 3 pairs of earrings plus ear wires. You are looking like $1,000,000 right now. So I bet you guys feel pretty smart now that you know how to use head pins. It's really not that hard. I hope you enjoyed it. All you're gonna need to do these little projects that I showed you today are head pins and some beads and then a few tools. So let me walk you through what I used. First of all, I'm going to remind you that I did use a round nose plier, which I forgot to introduce at the beginning of the show. So there's your round nose plier. And I used a chain nose plier, which looks very similar, but it's flat and smooth on the inside, and a flush cutter. These are your 3 basic tools. If you guys have these, you can do everything I showed you today. So don't ever feel like you have to have a lot of fancy tools. I did also use my 6-step looping plier, which I personally love and highly recommend. And I showed you how to use a 1-step looper. Thanks so much for watching. I have changed out my earrings. If you guys would like to pick up some supplies like the ones I worked with today, check out the links down below. I would love to know how you'd use your head pins. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell, and I'll see you again next time.